I think the most popular question that I get asked, and I don't know about you, Kenny, but it is, so how's the real estate market? Are you guys keeping busy with all this COVID stuff going on? Or, is the market just slowed down? Do I sell my home? Do I not buy? But gosh, interest rates are so low. And oh my gosh, we got an election year coming up too. And, all of that stuff is coming to the forefront. Welcome to Breakfast with Bev this morning. I'm Bev Curtis here at Bev & Co. at House of Brokers.
And I'm Kenny Hubble with Bev & Co. at House of Brokers.
And today we're going to dive into the local real estate market and let's really discover together what's really going on. So my perspective and Kenny's, we're going to kind of give you two different flavors here because Kenny's been in the business for a number of years, just about as long as I have, 25 plus years. And he deals a lot from the buyer perspective. I deal a lot from the seller perspective. And so I'm going to kind of let Kenny start. Okay, Kenny, like from the buyer perspective, give us your thoughts. What's really going on today in their own backyards?
I think it's an important question, and it's always something that we've received my entire real estate career. We went through, I started in 1995, so of course we had, the scare of, the 2000. Is
Yes.
the computers going to crash?
And if you didn't have enough water hoarded, today it's toilet paper with COVID, then it was water and generators.
Yeah. Well, so first the internet started, as far as being able to do that in like 96, 97, and so we had to kind of roll with that and do the changes associated with real estate as far as the whole internet process is concerned, and we no longer, we no longer have to rely on the newspaper to be able to get our news, nor do we have to rely on the newspaper to be able to find out about properties. And back then we actually had books that we had to be able to get our information from, and now it's the internet. In fact, if you don't have a real estate agent that you're working with in today's marketplace to be able to look for properties on your behalf, the time you get it on the websites, it's really too late because it's almost too late. Because
I would agree.
Currently, there are 600 houses on the market in Boone County. Okay, and so what does that mean? It's just a number, and we could throw stats around all day long, Bev. I think that we could, be able to do that.
I agree.
But I don't want to overwhelm the answer associated with stats. It's an important thing to know. Properties are still selling. In fact, in the last 7 days, there's been 86 properties that have came on the market. So new listings, 86 new listings have come on the market in the last 7 days. 110 properties have went under contract. So there's more properties that went under contract than came on the market. And so what that absorption rate is telling us is, how's the market? Well, overall, the market is selling houses quicker than they're coming on the market with. And only having 600 on the market currently is about 300 to 400 down from what we normally have this time of year. So inventory is down. Buyers are still buying houses. And the great thing about real estate is that the value associated that you have with your equity in your home, I call it preserving your equity.
First of all, back up just a little bit, Kenny, because I think that's a wonderful thing that you just mentioned. Preserving your equity. Explain in layman's terms equity and how that goes up and down, just like the stock market.
Yeah, so in December, I contacted my financial advisor. And I said, I know in my market in real estate, every presidential election year, there's just uncertainty in the marketplace. And so I know come November, August maybe, as far as being able to do that, the stock market's just going to go crazy. So I would like to be able to take my investments in the stock market and just put them over into a money market account and kind of just freeze my equity.
Just
right?
let it ride.
Just sit it right there. And let the market do what it wants as far as being able to do that. So my financial advisor said, Kenny, you're silly. I mean, the market's going to go up, it's going to go down, and you're really in it for a 30-year time period. You're not taking advantage of any of your equity associated with that. And so the same thing is true with houses. So first off, he talked me out of it. And so, of course, the market went down.
It's probably not an easy task to do. But
I listened to the professional. Okay, so that's kind of the key there. And so he's right. I'm not in the marketplace to be able to worry about what my equity was doing necessarily because I didn't have a need to be able to withdraw that equity. But in order for us to preserve that equity, if we're willing to be able to, take advantage of the largest investment that most of us have, and that's our houses, if we're willing to be able to take advantage of the low interest rates today, which are historically low. I mean, I've been in business since 1995, and to be able to get 3%, 3.25% interest rate is just, sign me up, right?
All day long.
So,
all day long.
If you bought your house 4 years ago, 7 years ago, you were at 4%, 5%, 6%, and so now we're half that, or almost half that if you were at 6% type of thing. So, does that even matter? Does it matter about what the interest rates are doing today for you as a seller if you're not willing to sell and preserve your equity? So the question becomes, this is the prime opportunity with having low inventory, meaning not very many houses on the market, not enough houses, just from the stats in the last 7 days as an example. And we've been experiencing this for about 3 years in our marketplace as far as the inventory level is concerned. But if you're willing to be able to take advantage of lowering your interest rate, getting the most out of the property that you can as far as with your equity that you've obtained.
Literally cashing out.
Sitting at, just like my conversation with my financial advisor back in December. I want to be able to just preserve that equity, let the market do what it's want to do, but I want to be able to do that. But if you're able to take your equity and move it over to, downsizing your home, if that's where you're at in your life, or to be able to get more space because now you need to have an office in your home, because your workplace is actually going to be at home until January of 2021, or however long it might be. I mean, I know that the big major corporations, they're going to complete online, working from home type of environment. So how long is that going to take? Well, you may need an office space. So that today would be the prime opportunity to do a couple things. Preserve your equity by being able to shift it over to a home that more fits your needs in today's marketplace and in your life today, as far as being able to do that, and to be able to, the interest rates process as far as taking advantage of that moving forward. So that's kind of my two big takeaways as far as what is going on in today's marketplace. Every market's different. Your subdivision is different than my subdivision, which is different than Bev's subdivision, which is different than Cheryl's and Dan's and Marla's. So the concept about how's the market, my answer to that question is it depends on where you live and the price range of your home as far as being able to do that. But the overall brushstroke about the Columbia marketplace is it's strong. And even back in the financial crisis of 2008, 2009, 2010, when real estate was like, what's going on? The builders stopped building, which really caused a snowball effect to our marketplace, and we can talk about that at a different time period probably.
Right.
But we really never have recovered from the inventory supply from when the construction stopped or slowed down, let's say, from 2008 to 2012. So what I'm saying there is that the values of our houses, they went down a little bit, 1%, 2%, 3% maybe, but Columbia is not Phoenix, where we have 20% drop this month versus 40% gain the following month. We are steady, and because of the major employers in town, education, the University of Missouri, Columbia College, Stevens College, Mobile Area Community College, the colleges in town, they're the largest employers that we have.
Pretty insulated.
Yeah, so people, even with the downtimes, they go back to school.
Actually, that's very true, because I know quite a few people that have done that, have gone back out their masters, their PhDs. They basically took the time to further advance themselves, make them more employable, and are coming out much better. And kind of to add a little side note to what you said, because I think, Kenny, you're spot on everything that you just said. I'm also seeing several different folks that are selling their homes because interest rates are so low, and if they had any kind of a medical setback or had some debt that maybe kind of got a little built up and out of control, it's the perfect time to, as you say, preserve that equity, take it out, get rid of all of this kind of junk debt, so to speak, student loans, credit cards, some medical bills, some, maybe if you had a job loss at some time and it took you a little bit to play catch up, you can then clean up everything, and it's the perfect time to do what I call a do-over, because then you can have, it's kind of the Dave Ramsey. It's like clear out all the clutter and get back to your core investment, and that way you can get in at a really low rate and do over. And it really works out beautifully in a time like this.
And it's also a way that you can preserve your equity, going back to that, because if you can use your equity on the sale to be able to actually pay off, whatever that you may have to do regarding your other debts, you can be able to use some of that equity, be able to kind of start fresh with that. And so with with the low interest rates and the availability of properties is, I think, the right time to be able to do that.
And I think it's just a matter of then it's like, okay, putting the pieces of the puzzle together, selling, and then how do I find the property? Because right now, from the seller side of things, I mean, it's kind of like Kenny said, it's like we're in a shortage of inventory in most price ranges, not all. Once you get to that 500 and above, that 500,000 and above is kind of a pretty big threshold as far as anything below moves pretty readily. Anything above, I think, is kind of considered maybe a little bit more of a custom home market. So it's got to be a pretty special property or a pretty special home in order to warrant that size of amount of money. I mean, it's a chunk of money to invest.
Well, I want to go that, just kind of follow up on that a little bit, is because even the properties that are 450,000, 500,000, 700,000, as far as whatever your price range of your evaluation of your asset is, they're still moving. But it's just a matter of it. We live in a throwaway society, is the way I talk about it. So we have to be able to make sure that your home at that price range is competing with what a new construction would be. So if we have 15-year-old carpet in there, we may have to put new carpet in there before we put it on the marketplace. Yeah. So I think that's where we need to be able to offer our services. We can come out, we can talk to you for free as far as being able just to give you our expertise regarding, hey, if I was going to move, what things do I need to do? And let us talk to you about that before you go through the process of starting to paint or put new flooring in or put new countertops in and that sort of thing. Because you may not have to do that, and or we may be able to let you know this is okay to do it this way, but we need to be able to address your outside siding. Or roofs, putting new roofs, putting new furnaces, those sorts of things do not give you extra value for your asset, for your house.
Oh, that's a whole other topic. Yes.
But it is necessary because buyers expect for there to be a roof and a furnace that are functioning and working.
And not something that's going to conk out in a year or two either.
Correct.
Because they don't want to take on somebody's used goods that then they have to come, somebody else got the goodie on, and then they have to be the cleanup person.
But before we go spend that kind of money, I think it would be wise, and we'd be happy to come out to be able to talk to you about what's the process. So.
I totally agree. Right now, it's very crucial where you spend the dollars in order to get the return on the investment, for sure. Otherwise, you could just be doing charity and throwing money at things that may not even be important to that buyer, or as Kenny said, they'll just be coming in and ripping it right back out.
Yeah,
so
helping you preserve your equity as far as that's concerned. We don't want you to spend your savings to be able to do things at the house as far as fixing up that may not be needed.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, right now, talking about the market conditions, is that a lot of this has to go back to the good old word of planning. How long, if you're going to make a move, do you plan on being in that potential property? Because real estate from way back has always been considered a long-term investment. And just like how Kenny described, as the ebbs and flows of the market, just like the stock market, oh gosh, do I pull out and set it out on the sidelines? Real estate is intended to let it ride. And then depending on life, events, timing, maybe market conditions like this might warrant it. It's like there will be timing and life events that will kind of dictate when do you cash out, when do you let it ride, and then you just make your decisions based off of that. So, but I think that the thing to keep in mind is just because you want to sell your house now or want to put it on the market, and because there are buyers out there willing to purchase that are looking for inventory, it still has to appraise out. there's still a checks and balance there to where it can't get too crazy or too out of line. And most buyers, no matter how much they love a home, nobody at the end of the day wants to overpay or feel like that they were being taken advantage of. And so that's where, always keep in mind, it still has to appraise out and it has to be realistic for the market conditions.
And that's one of the great things about why I actually joined Bev & Co. as far as being able to do that. Because if you have 2 different people or 3 different people or 4 different people that are looking at the valuation to be able to help you come in to be able to determine what is the right value for this house. Is it $300,000 or is it $310,000? Quite frankly, no matter how long I've been in this business or how long I'll be in the business, to be able to tell you if your house is worth $300 versus $310, we go off of the past sales, and that's what the appraisers are looking at. And so we're able to tell you as far as, well, your neighbor's house, which is the exact same floor plan, sold for $310, so therefore your value is $310. But if you're out in the country and you don't have a neighbor's house that's sold in the last 7 years, it makes it harder for us to be able to dictate and tell you, is this $300 versus $310? Well, that's going to really be able to determine about what's more important to you, time or money. Because we can be able to, advertise and try to be able to get a buyer for a $300,000 house by pricing it at $400,000, and then 5 years from now we can get $400,000 because that's when the market caught up to you, right? But we're be able to tell you what's the market doing today.
So true.
And that's kind of back to the first question that was asked at the beginning here, and as far as, well, how's the market? And it just depends. That is really the answer as far as what house you own, and what is your situation. Do you want to preserve your equity, or do we need to move?
I say it just depends a lot, and I don't think people like that answer because I think they think that I'm beating around the bush, and it's not intended to be that way. It's just, I think where Kenny's going with all that is there's so many variables to the package, and somebody might have similar variables, but not all in the same box to where you come up with the same evaluation. So very, very good analogy. Very good. Okay. Well, if you have, like Kenny said, any individual questions for yourself, should I buy? Should I sell? If I am looking at selling, what should I do? What should I not do? How soon should I start the process? If I'm thinking about selling maybe in 3 months, 6 months, a year out, what does that timetable look like? Reach out to us here at Bev & Co. And all of our team members are very astute with the real estate market, what's going on locally. We're here to serve you and give you the best guidance and information that we can. At the end of the day, it's always your decision, but we certainly want to give you good information so that you can make the best decision for you or your family. Okay.
Yeah, it's a team. Basically, the way that we talk about it whenever we go talk with sellers is that this is your asset, and we're here to be able to provide you professional advice, it's guidance, and we're on this together as a team. So we would love to have our team be able to talk and be part of your team. So when you're ready to do that, just give Bev a call and call us at Bev & Co.
Sounds great. Thank you, Kenny. Always a pleasure. We appreciate you guys joining in. We'll see you next week.